there, and welcome to the Link podcast with me, Elle, and my beautiful, gigantic corn plant in behind me here. English learners, remember you can study this episode and all past episodes of the podcast. I'll always leave a link to the English lesson on link in the description of the video. If you're listening on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple, Google, wherever, give us a like, give us a review, show us some love. We really, really appreciate it. Anyone listening or watching who has never used LingQ before, today's episode is all about LingQ. I'm joined by LingQ co-founder and Polyglot who speaks 20 languages, Steve Kaufmann. We're going to discuss the new version of LingQ, version 5, which was just released on the web. So stay tuned if you are a language learner who's interested in hearing about how LingQ has changed, the improvements, how Steve is using the new version to study languages also. Steve, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Good morning, Elle.
Good
Looking
morning.
forward
And
to
where are
chatting
you?
with you.
Yes, me too. We have something very special to chat about this morning. Where in the world are you joining us from?
Well,
today?
you can see my bookshelf behind me.
Yeah.
It's my portable bookshelf. No, I'm in Palm Springs, and my wife and I come down here in the winter during the sort of rainiest months in Vancouver, and so I'm in Palm Springs.
I'm going to chat with you today about LingQ version 5. So a brand new, all new LingQ, which was just launched. It has been launched for a little while on the iPhone app now and was launched 2 weeks ago on the web. So we've, of course, within the LingQ team, we've been using LingQ version 5 for over a year now, just testing it, figuring out, getting rid of all the bugs and making it as good as it can be. So what would you say, first off, are the major changes that anyone who was using the old LingQ and will now start to use the new LingQ will notice in version 5?
The biggest thing is, to me, the initial thing is just the look. I find that the look and feel, the environment that you are in when learning languages is better. It's more pleasing. It's graphically better. And I think it's worth thinking about LingQ. Like LingQ is not a product that is sort of stationary, stable. Ever since we started LingQ, things keep changing. User interface standards change. They're influenced by different things. So our library has more of a Netflix look because Netflix didn't exist when we started LingQ, back whenever it was, 15 or more years ago. LingQ is an amazing project. I think people don't realize how many people are involved. We have developers and other people on our team who live in Ukraine, who live in Macedonia, in Korea, in Bolivia, in Ghana. I'm sure I've left a few countries out. Canada, of course. Yeah. US. So it's an example of the world we live in, which is very international with lots of different locations and people collaborating. And we all follow the technology as it changes. And I think let's start with what people won't notice. They won't notice the fact that LingQ has been completely rewritten because we needed a platform that makes it easier for us to make changes going forward because everything is constantly changing. And so that's, to me, is the biggest thing in LingQ. It's a different look and it's a new platform which will enable us to more easily add functions and improve functions. I think that's the biggest thing. But I can get into more detail on functionality that I particularly like.
Sure, yeah, please do. What is your favorite change?
Okay, my favorite change is the library because language learning starts with content, comprehensible input, compelling input, content. So we have more content available now, not only in our libraries, but also through these external links, which allow us to bring things in more easily from YouTube or from podcasts. And it's easier to find things in the library.
It is.
Not only that, it's easier to import things. So if you have something of interest to you, again, it's easier to bring it in and slot it into a course. So to me, one of the biggest improvements is it's just easier and more attractive to handle content. And content that's the curiosity. That's the thing you want to learn about that pulls you into language learning. So I think that's very important.
Yeah. I have to agree. I really, really love the way the library looks. And it is the way the categories are, which you can customize. You can choose which categories you'd like to see. And there's just so much content. A lot of people don't like to or don't want to import. They don't want to find content online themselves, and that's fine. Because within the library, it's so easy. There's just so much. So yeah, I think that's probably my favorite change too.
I think that's
great.
tremendous. The now the lesson page. Now you said we had it for a year and worked out all the bugs. Of course, not all the bugs.
No,
it's so difficult to anticipate. There are different screen sizes, different browsers. There's so many different combinations. So while we had a team of QA people working to iron out the most obvious bugs, there are still a few things there that have to be ironed out. But the other thing I think right up front that I really like is we have replaced the avatar with coins. And not only that, you now get credit sort of on a granular basis for so many more activities. For every page you've read, for listening even down to, not having listened to the whole of the lesson. So yes. I found myself in the old system, in order to maintain my streaks, I had to go and create X number of links. But very often I have so many saved links, I want to go back and read something again where there are no blue words, just yellow words. In other words, words that I have previously met and looked up, but still don't know. But I wasn't getting any credit for doing that. Now, if you go in there and read again and you find a word that's a yellow word that's maybe status 1, and you move it to status 2 or status 3, you're getting credit for that. Or if I go into the vocabulary section, and this is something that I like to do and that I recommend to people, I'm not a big fan of flashcards. Other people like flashcards, that's great. I like going through lists of words. So I go to the vocabulary section, and typically I'll choose only status 3 words. These are words that I'm somewhat familiar with, but not yet confident that I know. But typically, in amongst those words, a certain percentage, maybe 20%, are words that I already know. So typically, if I'm reading, I'll eventually come across these words and I'll move them to known. But if I go into my vocabulary section and say, I just want to see status 3 words, then all those words will show up in one list. Then I can go through those words and move them to known. And as I do that, I get lots of coins for doing it. And just as an aside, I can filter. I can either see these words in alphabetical order, which is very helpful because you'll find 3 or 4 or 5 words that have the same prefix. In other words, begin with the same letters or with the same letter, and you'll start to see connections in meaning between words that have similar beginnings. Very helpful. Or I will review these words in order of their frequency. And so obviously I'm going to have a higher percentage of known words in those status 3 words where the words are higher frequency. Not always, but that tends to be the case. So doing all these different activities, or even, listening, I'll be listening on, say, a playlist, and I'm getting credit in the form of coins. Now, some people might say, what are the coins good for? You can't spend them. You can't buy anything with them. At best, you can repair a streak. That's fine. Yeah, but it's just an indicator. It's just an indicator of where you are. Exactly. There's so many things in life where we get points or we get a score, a grade. You can't do anything with it. It's just a measure of what you have achieved. What I think is important about coins is it measures your activity level. And I always say it's difficult to measure how good you are at any given time, because you might be better one day and not as good the next day for any number of reasons. But as long as you are active, you are heading in the right direction. And the coins is an indicator that you're being active.
Yeah. And you mentioned the avatar there. Just want to say that some people did like the avatar. We will be saying a farewell in our special way to the avatar and allowing people to share what their avatar looked like at the end of version 4. But yes, I agree. Coins, much better way of tracking activity.
We can't satisfy everybody. There are people who prefer the look of the old link, who prefer the avatar. At some point, though, Mark and his team have to decide, going forward, what's in the best interest of most people in our learning community, and that's what they did.
Exactly. Now, importing. You you do a lot of importing on Link. What do you think, because this is another favorite aspect of the new version for me personally, what do you think of the new import page where you actually add any?
Absolutely. Whether I'm using the browser extension or whether I'm using, actually import, and dragging something in, it's so much easier to find the course, where you want to put this. I can't explain in detail why it's easier, but it's just so much easier. So I go to the import page. I just find it so much easier to manage. I can drag and drop audio files. I can't go through all of it, but it's just so much less of a chore to import. Yes. And that's important because in language learning, every time we simplify things, every time we make it easier to do something, we're increasing the intensity of the learning experience. If I spend all kinds of time looking for content, importing content, something didn't work, and I've spent half an hour now trying to create learning content, whereas if it's very easy to do and I've got it right away, and this includes, by the way, all those external links, I'm into an item of content here that is at my level and of interest to me, and I did it quickly, and therefore I can spend more time with the language. So I think that's very important.
So, Steve, let's talk about the lesson page and the improvements that have happened within it. What are your favorite improvements in the lesson page?
Well, I like, if I'm on the browser, in other words, on my computer, I like to have the sidebar. So you have the option. You can have a sidebar with the dictionary definition and so forth, permanently sort of like showing up as you go through the lesson. Whereas on the iPad, I like the floating sort of link widget so I can look where it's up. So forth. Again, it's these things that it's difficult to explain in great detail, but it's just more convenient. I like the color of the lesson page, just more pleasing. I don't get tired. I found the previous lesson page a little bit harsh and it was a little bit tiring. So it's a more comfortable environment. There are a number of things that can be customized, but I think initially, certainly I'm not going to try to customize anything until I've really gotten used to sort of the default settings. And for me, the default setting in the browser is with that sidebar. Another thing that's very useful, but only exists for certain languages, is if you click on Translate the Lesson, you'll get interspersed between the lines of the target language, the translation. And this is also very helpful because I think we've all had the experience that we look up individual words, but we don't understand what they all mean together. And sure, we can try to save a phrase, but sometimes we don't necessarily want to save the phrase. We just want to get a sense of the meaning. And it helps us go through the text looking up words. And so the ability to click and immediately see a translation interspersed with the lines of text in the target language, I think is a great improvement. A wonderful feature. Another thing that I enjoy is sentence mode. I'm in difficult languages, like difficult for me, like Arabic and Persian. And so I tend to go through them in sentence mode. And very often, first of all, if this is an external link from YouTube or something, then it's very often time-stamped. But the timestamp may not be accurate. In other words, the audio file doesn't correspond exactly to the text. And it's now so easy in sentence mode to edit the sentence if there's something you don't like there, or to adjust the start and end time of that audio. Which then the next time you review it, you'll get matching audio to sentence. Or someone who comes in behind you, another member of Link, will have the advantage of having that already adjusted. So I think that's tremendous.
It's helpful.
Those are great advantages.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to try listening mode? Where
yes, listening mode. It's really good for things like songs. Listening mode, by the way, is the idea that you see the words highlighted. I'm going from right to left because I'm in Arabic and Persian, but obviously left to right if you're in a language that goes left to right. But you can be listening and then watching and scrolling down and watching these words appear highlighted on the screen. I like to do that. Maybe I'll go through that once that way, get a sense of the lesson. Obviously, a lot of words I didn't understand. Then I go in sentence mode and go through, in detail, looking at words. And then I might go back into listening mode to go through it one more time. So I think that's another great advantage.
Yeah, I like that too. And it's just another thing, right? Another element.
Right.
Another, maybe you need something different, switch on listening mode and kind of study that way for a little bit.
Exactly. I think, I believe very much that we learn from exposure. But sometimes we get tired of doing the same thing over and over again. So we can get tired of linking, for example. But if we can have some linking, some listening mode where we're just following much like a karaoke thing.
Yeah.
Sentence mode, I can go in there and I'm listening to the audio file several times in order to adjust the time stamping. I'm listening while I'm doing that. I might review words in the vocab section, changing status. So all of this is exposure to the language, but a variety of different kinds of exposure. And variety is important because the brain gets tired of doing the same thing over and over.
Yes, for sure. And you mentioned that the old version, within the lesson page, made your eyes tired. Are you using dark mode? Now we have dark mode available. Find that
I
really
see dark
helps.
mode is very popular with many of our learners, but I don't use dark mode.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So,
You're finding
not every feature. Like
that's fine.
Different people like different
Personal
things.
preference.
So.
Exactly. Yeah, you can have it switch it on or off, or have it change to the kind of to day night within the system too, which is a very helpful feature.
Multiple playlists appeals to many people. I tend to just play the course audio. So if I'm in a course that has 5, 10, 15 lessons, what I do most often is just click play course audio. And so that if the lessons in it are 3 minutes long and it takes me 20 minutes to clean up the kitchen, which is when I listen, half an hour, whatever it might be. So then it'll just go through that. And sometimes I'll play it, shuffled. So I tend not to create playlists, but because I tend to use the course playlist. But many people do create playlists, and you can create playlists for songs, for whatever heading or grouping is of interest to you. So then you can focus in on that playlist and play that playlist. And of course, all the while that you're listening to your playlist, you are contributing to your coins, if that is something of interest to you. And it is to me. I kind of like it. Yeah, it is worth pointing out that these external links to YouTube and Netflix are extremely effective. We have YouTube, there are TED Talks in many languages. And if you find a subject of interest, then it's so easy to bring it in and start learning from it. So I think these external links have really enriched our library. The library, I think, will continue refining it as we go forward. I know that content, for example, for sale, such as the stories that Ollie Richards does, what do you call it, graded readers, things of that nature that people like and they buy. These are not available in every language. They aren't necessarily being featured as prominently as they should be in some languages. There are opportunities for customizing your library, and again, these are things that people will gradually, figure out how to do. And, Elle, as you know, we have to come up with tutorials now for the new Link 5.0.
Yes,
to help people
we do
some of these things. So I think there's enough there to start with for people, but eventually, I think people will want to customize. And with the new Link 5.0 being more flexible from a programming point of view, I think it'll be easier to introduce opportunities for customization. Always bearing in mind that we don't want to confuse people. So there's this constant struggle between function and the ability to customize. On the other hand, getting rid of clutter and simplification so that people don't get confused.
Yeah,
that's our ongoing struggle to trying to find a compromise between functionality and simplification.
Those tutorial videos are coming. I just want to say the team, we're working on those to help new members or just members figure out this new system. And also we have the Link librarians also working, as you mentioned, content readers in different languages. We're always searching with librarians in different languages, searching for new content. And it's just going to, the library is just going to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah, one function that I forgot about is many people like to bring in text-only material that is of interest to them.
Ah, yes.
And which isn't necessarily shared with other people, but they would like to have that some audio, even if it's text-to-speech. It's not ideal.
Yeah.
So we now have the option that you can convert a whole, text material that you import. You can use this automatically convert to text-to-speech, and you have something to listen to. So I think that's a good feature.
For sure. It's better than nothing. Yeah, like you say,
Yeah.
some of these text-to-speech voices are great. Of course, it's a bit robotic, but at least you get that listening in with that.
Some languages are better than others. That's it. Some
That's
definitely better than others.
That's very true.
You also touched on something that is important, and that is that we do have volunteer librarians helping us improve the libraries. I mean, there is content in our libraries that's not very good, content with poor audio, or for whatever reason, or maybe content that is not outside copyright that shouldn't be there. And so with the help of our librarians, and I think you're still looking for more volunteer librarians, so that we can make the libraries better for everyone.
Yeah, I'll pop the info in the description of the video for sure. Yeah.
The big thing is it just feels better. Right? It's very important to be in a comfortable environment, in a pleasant environment when you're studying. And I think 4.0 was getting a little tired, and the interface wasn't that great. 5.0 is much more pleasant. We still have a lot of refining to do. We want to work on the speed of uploading lessons, but the first thing was to get the whole thing, working. And now we will apply the resources that we used to get, Link 5.0 up and running. We will be applying those same resources to refining it, improving the speed, addressing some of the comments and requests that we receive from our members. But I'm very excited. We've turned a page. We're in a new world as far as Link is concerned. Yeah.
New era. Yeah.
New era.
Link was founded in 2007. Link started. That's a long time,
That's
lots
a
of changes.
long time ago. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Steve, thank you so much. Lots of great info there. I think the best thing to do is for anyone interested or members to just get in and try it out and have fun. Thank you so much for joining us, Steve.
Well,
and we'll chat again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.